Jennifer Hills is a novelist from New York City who is currently traveling to Louisiana to write her second novel. Along the way, she stops at a shop to get the keys to the cabin she'll stay at. At the shop, a man named Earl hands her the keys before instructing her how to get there. According to Jennifer, the purpose of her trip is for some peace while she writes. On the way there, Jennifer gets confused about the roads, so she pulls up at a gas station for some help. There, she meets Johnny, one of the attendants, who points which direction she should go. Johnny attempts to make a move on Jennifer, but she scares him after accidentally pressing her panic button.
Check your underwear, Johnny.
He spills a bucket of fluid, causing Andy and Stanley, his friends, to laugh at him. As Jennifer drives off, Johnny's embarrassment is evident. After the long stretch of road, Jennifer finally arrives at the cabin, which will be her home for the months to come. She immediately unpacks her belongings, ready to embark on a change of environment. The following day, Jennifer relaxes by the lake after days of working on her novel. She hears suspicious noises, but does not pay much mind to them. However, the noises reoccur and make her uneasy. Jennifer walks across the nearby shed to check, but she finds nothing but bottles of poison inside. She accidentally spills her drink onto her clothes and goes to the kitchen to wash off the stain. In there, an unknown person is secretly documenting her half-naked. The following day, she jogs through the woods and stumbles upon an abandoned cabin. Out of curiosity, Jennifer enters to check how it looks like inside. However, she does not find anything interesting and continues to go about her day. Back home, she discovers that her sink and toilet are clogged, urging her to call a plumber, Matthew. He suffers from a mental disability, hence his stuttering way of talking. After he fixes the problem in her bathroom, Jennifer gets giddy and gives Matthew an abrupt kiss. For a moment, the shy Matthew blushes and runs outside because of it. In the woods, Andy, Stanley, and Johnny hang out and kill birds for fun. The brutality is recorded by Stanley, who has a passion for documenting anything random. Not long after, Matthew arrives and tells the group how he received a kiss from Jennifer. Johnny does not believe him, but Stanley confirms that it is real before showing a video of her in underwear. At nightfall, Jennifer still hears the creepy noises around the house and becomes more bothered by them. She sees a lifeless bird just outside her door, but other than that, she finds nothing. Upon returning inside, she sees her laptop with the group photo of the guys she met days before. She looks at it in horror before realizing that they are inside. Johnny, Stanley, and Andy taunt Jennifer altogether, causing fear to the poor lady. Stanley calls Matthew, and Johnny drags him inside so he could also participate in their scheme. As the leader, Johnny initiates the group into threatening and letting Jennifer drink. When she refuses, Johnny becomes more agitated, leaving her no choice but to abide by his orders. He then asks Jennifer to show him her teeth and pulls her closer. Johnny pulls out a gun and forces it on Jennifer's mouth in a sensual manner. Andy approaches her and does the same thing, but with liquor, while Johnny forces Matthew to watch. Jennifer finds the courage to hit Andy's knee before pepper spraying Stanley. It allows her to escape into the woods and run to safety. Jennifer bumps into Storch, the local sheriff, along with Earl. In tears, Jennifer informs the two men of the assault that she has experienced recently. Storch calms her down by showing his badge, informing her that she is now in safe hands. The sheriff tells Earl to go home as he will accompany Jennifer back to the cabin. Moments later, Storch drives with Jennifer back to the cabin to confront the group. He bravely calls them out while looking for them inside the cabin. Upon examining the scene, Storch finds the broken bottle of alcohol and a joint belonging to Jennifer. He begins to interrogate Jennifer despite her pleas for help, as if she is not a victim. According to him, she has no right to make false accusations about the men he knew since they were kids. Storch then orders Jennifer to face the window as he pats her down. However, he touches her improperly, revealing that Storch is the group's accomplice as the boys enter. While Storch points a shotgun at her, he orders Jennifer to get on her knees. Johnny picks her up while ordering Matthew to remove his pants. At the moment, Jennifer is helpless, to say the least, with 5 heartless men. Her chance of survival is at stake. Stanley records the whole thing while Matthew begins to force himself on Jennifer until he is satisfied. Despite being weak, Jennifer manages to gather her strength and get out of the cabin. Further into the woods, she stumbles upon the group again, where more sufferings await her. Andy drags Jennifer near a puddle and submerges her head a couple of times. As she lays on the ground, Storch removes his pants to force himself on her, ignoring her cries for mercy. After the men take turns on Jennifer, she gains consciousness and is now covered in dirt. Jennifer gets up once again to go further into the woods in the hope of some real help. Still unhinged from the hell she has been through, she reaches the bridge while the 5 men continuously follow her. Just when Storch is about to shoot her, Jennifer lets herself fall into the river, leaving no trace. The group searches for her, but they have no luck tracking her body anywhere. As an alternative, they destroy evidence left behind, especially Stanley's recordings. After the eventful day, Storch returns home, where his wife and daughter, Chastity, welcomes him. As if nothing happened, he spends the night at home without any remorse for his actions. The next day, Storch stops by Earl's shop to return the keys to the cabin, saying that Jennifer left without notice. Weeks pass, and the group goes on with their lives as if nothing happened. Apart from the rest, Matthew is the only one that feels remorse and spends most of his time in the woods. One day, he gets a vision of Jennifer staring at him in a ghostly way. Matthew covers his eyes out of fear and gets under the idea that Jennifer is haunting him. While Andy and Johnny are hanging out for some drinks, they see Stanley running toward them. With worry in his voice, he informs the voice that his camera has been stolen before revealing that he kept the controversial tape. Johnny gets in a fit of rage and starts beating Stanley up for putting them at risk. That night, Johnny hears noises outside his home and checks outside to find a dead bird on the porch. He kicks it off before returning inside. When he goes back inside, he hears it again and comes out with a gun. To his surprise, the dead bird is lying on his porch once again, the culprit unknown. When Johnny hears it again, he rushes outside to see Jennifer's slipper on the porch and tries to chase the sound, but to no avail. Meanwhile, Storch comes home to his wife, who informs him that a package has been delivered. To his horror, he finds one of Stanley's tapes and is relieved that neither his wife nor daughter has seen it. Storch quickly drives off to meet with the group, who are nervous to see him. Immediately, Storch threatens Stanley, thinking that he is playing a prank on him. To defend his friend, Johnny shows the slipper, suspecting that Matthew is responsible for everything.
Tell me why this was dropped off to my house.
I mean, dipshit there, he kept the tape as a souvenir. Matthew's the one that took it, Sheriff.
Dipshits, bring it to me.
On their hunting trip, Storch hands Earl a bottle of whiskey and shoots him. The reason behind it is Earl is one of the loose ends to the crime, as he saw Storch accompanying Jennifer back to the cabin. Still troubled by his visions, Matthew returns to the cabin to reflect on his actions. Out of nowhere, he hears Jennifer's voice calling out to him, so he comes inside. He ends up falling down the stairs and knocks himself out. As he gains consciousness, he sees Jennifer in the flesh, sitting on the couch. Jennifer invites him to sit beside her, and he repeatedly apologizes for what he did to her. Matthew clings to her, while sobbing as guilt overtakes him. Jennifer comforts and calms him down, but later puts a noose tight around his neck. Matthew continuously says sorry despite gasping for air, but Jennifer replies that an apology is not good enough. The resurfacing of pieces of evidence prompts the group to look for Matthew in the woods. After several minutes of searching for him, Andy and Stanley end up in an abandoned cabin. Andy enters while Stanley remains outside to search for any signs of Matthew. There, he shockingly sees Jennifer standing across him, giving out a smirk. When Stanley advances on her, he steps on a bear trap that she set up and calls for Andy, who gets hit with a bat. Both of them lose consciousness after Jennifer also hits Stanley. After some time, Jennifer ties Stanley to a tree and records him with his camera. She brings out a dead rodent and shoves it in his mouth, which makes him vomit. Jennifer then sets up the camera before using fish hooks to keep his eyes wide open. While recording him, Jennifer guts a fish and spreads its insides all over Stanley's face. The scent of the fish guts attracts numerous crows that begin to peck him. After some time, his eyeballs are eaten by the birds, and he bleeds to death. Meanwhile, Andy wakes up inside the rundown cabin, tied on a few boards over a bathtub. The water in the tub keeps rising just as Jennifer enters to check on him. Andy begs her to let him go, but she is sure about inflicting the same torture that she went through. Jennifer repeatedly submerges his head into the water before throwing in some lye and removing one of the planks. Andy is left with no choice but to hold himself up with all his strength to stay up, but his body eventually falls into the water. Because of this, Andy's face is eventually burned, causing death upon him. The following day, Jennifer stops by the local gas station where Johnny works. She seduces him by wearing a short skirt and attacks him the moment he comes close. As part of her plan, she brings him back to the cabin to release her wrath upon him. When Johnny gains consciousness, he finds himself tied to the ceiling without any clothing. His torment begins when Jennifer pulls out his teeth one by one using pliers, making him realize his mistakes. Jennifer brings out a gun and forces it on Johnny's mouth, just like what he did to her. However, he manages to laugh, which makes Jennifer more agitated. Using hedge clippers, she cuts Johnny's private part before shoving it in his mouth. He screams in terror before eventually bleeding to death. Finally, Jennifer is down to her last target, Storch. The sheriff receives a call from his family, receiving news that Chastity's teacher is at their home. On the phone, Jennifer greets Storch, leaving him in a state of disbelief. Out of concern for his family, he quickly drives back home, only to find out that Chastity came with Jennifer. Storch arrives at an empty playground with his daughter still out of sight. Worries start to overtake him, and he runs back to the cop car, where Jennifer knocks him unconscious. Upon waking up, he finds himself inside the cabin with a rifle shoved inside him. Showing no mercy, Jennifer talks about how nice Chastity is and how he could stomach assaulting a woman. She shoves the rifle deeper, causing unimaginable pain to the sheriff. Across the room, Jennifer reveals that Matthew is alive but unconscious. A string attached to the trigger is tied around Matthew's wrist, which will kill both men if he moves. At this point, Storch desperately begs for his life, but Jennifer completely ignores him. Unbothered by his cries, Jennifer walks out of the cabin, patiently waiting for the situation to take its turn. Matthew eventually wakes up, urging Storch to calm him down. However, Matthew's mental incapacity causes him to panic and unknowingly pull the trigger, ending their lives. Outside,
Matthew, no! Sure. Matthew!
In Los Angeles, Jennifer Hills, a survivor of a gruesome crime, is still haunted by her traumatic experience. She snaps out of her dreams and returns to her therapy session. The therapist suggests joining group therapy sessions with people who have the same experiences as her. Jennifer is reluctant, but knows she needs help. Jennifer has abandoned her dreams of becoming a writer. She has changed her identity, and now goes by the name Angela. She works in an office where her coworker Matthew tries to make small talk. She harshly denies his attempts because she assumes he only wants to get in her pants. Jennifer can't escape from her past. She continues to have nightmares that leave her feeling heavy. On her daily jog, Jennifer relives the time she was running through the woods. Suddenly, a group of men intercepts her, and they start harassing her. Jennifer pulls out a gun and shoots one of them. But it's only a fantasy, and her anxiousness convinces the men to let her go. During another therapy session, Jennifer shares her recent fantasies. She sees her visions as a representation of justice. Her perception of the world changed after all she's been through. For her, life is about being predator or prey, and there's no in-between. She believes everyone wants something in return, even if they deny it. While Jennifer waits for the bus, Matthew drives up to her and offers her a ride home. She refuses, pushing Matthew to tell her that not every guy is a jerk. He drives off, and Jennifer sees a flyer for a group sharing session for victims like her. In the group session, Jennifer listens to a woman talking about her views on sexual violations. The session leader, Lynn, introduces Jennifer to the group and encourages her to share. Jennifer refuses, so they take a short break. Oscar approaches Jennifer, and they get acquainted. He begins talking about his daughter, and this makes him emotional. Oscar apologizes for crying and leaves. A woman named Marla reveals that Oscar's daughter killed herself when her perpetrator escaped punishment. Marla then invites Jennifer for a smoke. Outside, they talk about Marla's experience with group sharing. She doesn't care for it, but she feels like it helps in some way. Marla bids farewell as she has had enough of hearing sob stories. Later that night, Jennifer encounters the same group of men who cornered her in the park. Marla comes to Jennifer's rescue, insulting the leader's masculinity and leaving him speechless. His friends laugh at Marla's statements, and the two walk away smiling. The night brings them to a bar. Marla and Jennifer talk about how men put up acts just to get with a girl. Jennifer shares her experience with Matthew, and Marla makes fun of fake nice guys. Their conversation leads to bashing Lynn and her pacifist views. Marla hates how Lynn pushes forgiveness and healing instead of vengeance. With her past, Jennifer knows all too well that revenge doesn't fix trauma. The next day, Jennifer puts a taser in her bag and leaves for the group session. She and Marla now sit together, and they listen to the story of a young girl named Cassie. Her parents got divorced, and her mother met a new man, Ron. Ron violates Cassie. At the bar, Marla reveals that Cassie still lives with Ron because Cassie's mother doesn't believe her daughter. Marla hates how some women are so obedient to men and disregard every wrong thing they do. In her home, Jennifer notices her broken curtain rod. She goes to a hardware store with Marla to buy a replacement. With all the sharp tools on display, Marla suggests using them to mutilate male genitalia. Jennifer disagrees with her because she believes a sledgehammer is an obvious choice. As the two of them play around, a staff squeezes past them, and his hand brushes Jennifer's behind. She turns and bashes his skull in with the sledgehammer. It's just another vision, and Jennifer hits his foot instead. During therapy, Jennifer shares about her new friend. The therapists ask Jennifer if she trusts Marla. She says yes, but still refuses to let go of her pessimistic views. On a different day, the two are on a stakeout outside Cassie's house. They watch Ron hugging Cassie, who's clearly uncomfortable. Marla plans to avenge Cassie. Jennifer observes Ron harassing another woman. Marla has been following him for the past few days, revealing that he's more despicable than she thought. In a parking lot, a masked Marla sneaks up behind Ron and attacks him with a crowbar. Ron gives her his wallet, but Marla isn't finished. She threatens Ron and makes him promise to stop harassing women.
Whoops.
After a few more hits, she and Jennifer leave him beaten and bloody. In the next group session, Cassie shares that Ron suddenly became nice to her. Marla then begins advocating violence, but Lynn disapproves of it. After the meeting, Marla is in a hurry to leave. Jennifer asks what's wrong, and Marla tells her that her ex reached out and asked for his belongings. She has a restraining order against him, hence her anxiety about their complicated situation. Marla promises to meet Jennifer at their usual bar and leaves. The next day at work, Matthew invites Jennifer to have a drink with some of their coworkers. Jennifer apologizes for her rudeness before, but still refuses since she has to meet with Marla. Jennifer tells Matthew to invite her again at another time. This brings a smile to his face. At the bar, Jennifer drinks alone. The night passed, and Marla never arrived. In the group session, everyone seems gloomy. Lynn suddenly comforts Jennifer. Jennifer is clueless, and Lynn breaks the news of Marla's death. Jennifer is in disbelief, and she starts shouting at Lynn. Lynn promotes the acceptance of Marla's death and urges Jennifer to start her mourning process. Jennifer lashes out, and she punches and chokes Lynn. Fortunately, it's just another fantasy. The detective of Marla's case, McDillon, arrives. He reveals that Marla's case is a homicide. Oscar becomes aggressive, asking whether or not Marla was violated. Lynn tries to calm Oscar down, but he gets more furious. The way the police handled his daughter's case made Oscar resent them. He then walks out. McDillon asks the group if they have an idea of what could have happened to Marla. No one speaks up, so McDillon waits by the food table for privacy, where Jennifer approaches him. She asks for the details of Marla's case. McDillon shares that Marla was murdered. Jennifer suspects that Marla's ex killed her. McDillon then invites her for a cup of coffee, and she accepts. Jennifer tells McDillon that Marla's death doesn't make sense. Marla seemed to be strong, but McDillon thinks it was all a facade to hide that Marla's similar to the women she hates. They end the meeting because McDillon can't share any more details. He then promises to bring Marla's ex to justice. On her way home, the same group of men harasses Jennifer. The man sees that Marla isn't with Jennifer, and he starts insulting Marla. This prompts another vision where she kills them and stabs the man's eye. She leaves, burying her morbid fantasies once again. In her office cubicle, Jennifer reads a news article about Marla's murder. Nicholas, Marla's ex-boyfriend, was recently released from police custody. She hurries to leave but bumps into Matthew. Jennifer returns to her rude self and shouts at him. Outside the police station, Jennifer confronts McDillon. She knows Nicholas killed Marla, and McDillon agrees with her. However, there isn't enough evidence to prove that. Jennifer leaves disappointed. In her home, Jennifer lashes out by smashing plates and throwing a knife at a painting. She pulls it out and throws it again. With a belt, Jennifer measures her thigh. She cuts the belt, attaches the knife, and wears the contraption. Her past murders play in her head as she prepares to commit another. At a bar, Jennifer stares at Nicholas seductively. She leaves the establishment, and he follows close behind. In a dark alleyway, Nicholas flirts with Jennifer and begins kissing her. Jennifer then insults Nicholas and his male organ. This angers Nicholas, so he strikes Jennifer repeatedly. He then tries to force-feed Jennifer his meat. She then remembers a similar situation from her past. While the tip is in her mouth, Jennifer stabs the shaft. She bites off the head, splits the shaft, and blood gushes out. After a few more stabs, Jennifer spits out the tip. Nicholas crawls and screams in pain, and Jennifer gives the final blow with a crowbar. She smashes him again for good measure, and this time, what happened isn't just a fantasy. In a therapy session, Jennifer expresses her anger in how humans find pleasure in cruelty. Despite this, she's also aware of her sadistic tendencies. During a group session, Cassie shares that Ron is back to his old and disgusting ways. Oscar is furious. He says that someone needs to stop Ron once and for all. Oscar thinks that Ron should be violated with a metal pipe. This prompts Lynn to pull Oscar outside. With a determined and sinister look on her face, Jennifer visits the hardware store. Later that night, Jennifer, wearing a school uniform, approaches Ron. She asks Ron for directions, and he insists on accompanying her. They arrive in a shady-looking area. Ron wants to go inside with her. Jennifer accepts, and as soon as they're inside, she invites Ron to play. By calling Ron Daddy, Jennifer excites him. She positions herself on a mattress, and Ron quickly pulls down his pants. But then, Ron gets tasered and falls to the ground screaming. After a while, Ron regains consciousness. He's all tied up, and Jennifer sneaks up to him. She grabs a metal pipe, and this frightens Ron. Jennifer forces Ron to repeat the acts he made Cassie do. He kisses the pipe's tip, and Jennifer is amused. She hits him with the pipe and pushes his chair. With his exposed behind, Ron starts begging and apologizing. Jennifer isn't too much of a monster because she lubes up the metal pipe first. She pushes it in slowly, and Ron screeches in pain. With a sledgehammer, Jennifer smashes the pipe deeper. Jennifer stops because Ron isn't alive to satisfy her with his screams. On a different day, Jennifer's therapist asks her if she feels remorse for what she did. Jennifer doesn't see the value in feeling guilty or asking for forgiveness. Revenge has become the only basis for her actions. The police join the group before their session begins. Detective Boyle introduces herself and her team. Oscar scoffs at Boyle, which she notices. She asks Oscar about a threat he said during the last session. Boyle knows Oscar suggested ramming Ron's behind with a pipe. McDillon then informs the group that Ron is dead. He tries a calm and caring approach, but Oscar remains stubborn, so Boyle arrests him. She then commands McDillon to detain the rest. At work, Matthew sits beside Jennifer, who's zoning out. He asks if she wants to talk, but Jennifer turns him down again. Later that day, Jennifer meets up with Oscar, who's been released. She wants to talk about his daughter's case. His daughter's perpetrator had money and power. He bribed the police and made Oscar's daughter seem like a trollop. Oscar asks Jennifer what made her suddenly interested in his daughter's story, so Jennifer shares that one of the men who violated her was a cop. Oscar reveals where the offender currently works at. He regrets not getting revenge, even if it meant imprisonment. On another day, the offender just got out of a gym he works in. He's Jennifer's newest prey, and she follows him closely behind. Finally, they reach a secluded area. With a taser in hand, Jennifer rushes at him, but he turns to face her. Jennifer tries to attack but misses. He then strikes her and chokes her. With a knife, Jennifer stabs his neck. The man is unaffected, pinning Jennifer to the wall and throwing her into a trash can. She tries to fight back but gets knocked out. He rips her clothes off, and while he's busy pulling down her jeans, Jennifer reaches the taser and electrocutes him. She tries crawling away, but he returns the favor and electrocutes her. Luckily, McDillon and his partner arrive. He orders the man to get on the ground, but he refuses, forcing McDillon to shower him with bullets. At the police station, Boyle interrogates a battered Jennifer. She asks Jennifer questions quickly in an attempt to catch her slipping. However, Jennifer handled the questions with ease. Boyle then asks Jennifer about the picture of a girl on the pendant she was wearing. Chastity Storch was her name, the daughter of the police officer Jennifer killed in her past. Boyle connects the dots, deducing Jennifer's true identity. Boyle gets to the point, piecing all of the information that proves Jennifer is the one behind the murders. Boyle stops questioning as she's sure that Jennifer is guilty. Out of nowhere, Oscar arrives at the station with slashed and bloody forearms. Before he dies of blood loss, Oscar confesses to the murders. During a therapy session, the therapist asks where Jennifer's bruises came from. Jennifer then rants about how justice can only be achieved by the one who wants it. The police shouldn't be relied on, and anyone else for that matter. The therapist adds that Jennifer may have gotten justice but not peace. However, Jennifer announces that she isn't finished. When Jennifer comes home, she immediately destroys her belongings out of anger. She calms down and goes out wearing a sexy red dress. Jennifer walks down the streets with the same determined and sinister look. As Matthew leaves work, he sees Jennifer standing like a deer caught in headlights. Matthew notices that she isn't well and offers her a ride home. Jennifer assumes that the ride he's offering is a euphemism. She tells him to drop his nice guy act because she knows Matthew just wants to get with her. Matthew denies it, and Jennifer pulls out a knife. She rushes at Matthew, and he leaves immediately. Later that night, McDillon sees Jennifer and follows her. Jennifer gets approached by the man from before. As he nears, Jennifer hides her knife. His playful manner quickly changes when Jennifer acts all crazy. Jennifer then kneels and opens her mouth. The man considers accepting her offer. Then, Jennifer attempts to slash him but misses. The man punches her, and in the distance is McDillon. He distracts the man, allowing Jennifer to disable him. She threatens to slit the man's throat. As McDillon reaches for his gun, Jennifer raises her knife. Just before the blade connects, McDillon fires.
Used against me?
The day of Jennifer's last therapy session arrives. It's been 2 years since she was imprisoned for attempted murder. The therapist advises her to stay out of trouble and to find a new sharing group. Jennifer agrees to drop her unlikable attitude and be nice for once. Jennifer exits and leaves a distasteful farewell gift for her therapist. As she walks along the corridor, fellow inmates attempt to shiv her. She overpowers them and stabs one repeatedly. The other rushes at her, and Jennifer slits her throat. Unfortunately for the therapist, she exits the room and also gets stabbed. But Jennifer snaps out of another morbid fantasy.